I'm just kind of ready for the next chapter and a new challenge in my life, but I think the reason I decided to announce it when I did was just to have that closure.
Caitlin Clark's world abruptly shifted. And it all began when Michael Jordan and Lexie Hull entered the room in an intensely emotional and shocking moment. The rising star and basketball icon disclosed an astounding $52 million Nike made a contract specifically for Clark. Her eyes grew wide. The audience became quiet. Fans will never forget the response that ensued. However, why did Hull and Jordan take this action at this time? What does Caitlin, Nike, and the future of women's sports stand to gain from this historic agreement? The emergence of an occurrence. Caitlin Clark had already repeatedly rewrote history long before the confetti dropped at the 2024 WNBA draft. She was more than a superb athlete. The player was her, the beating heart of college basketball for women. Caitlin transformed routine games into major events starting in her first season with the Iowa Hawkeyes. Something electrifying occurred each time she set foot on the court. From far beyond the arc, take 3 steps back. Even the most experienced analysts stopped and stared at the laser's confidence as it navigated narrow passageways. Something amazing has occurred by the beginning of 2024. In addition to becoming well-known in every American home, Caitlin Clark's name had started to reverberate throughout continents. Hours before kickoff, crowds waited in line to see her warm up. Every time her jersey showed on screen, TV viewership skyrocketed. In reality, in terms of attendance and ticket sales of a number of Caitlin's college games surpassed NBA games during the 2023 to 2024 season. She created a movement in addition to gaining admirers. Her stats are unbelievable. Caitlin Clark broke the NCAA's all-time scoring record in March 2024 inside the boisterous Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City, outscoring all previous players, male or female. The world paid attention. For a time it remained still. ESPN provided exclusive coverage. Instant features were introduced by international networks. From digital billboards in Tokyo to cereal boxes in the Midwest, her visage could be found everywhere. This was no longer simply college basketball. Caitlin Clark was now a worldwide celebrity. Therefore, there wasn't a question of whether she would be selected first on April 15, 2024, the night of the WNBA draft. It was the speed with which the Indiana Fever would leap to make the decision. And when they did, it seemed more like a coronation than a draft in front of a boisterous audience in Brooklyn, New York. Legends nodded in agreement as the audience surged and cameras flashed. However, what came next? The plot really takes a turn at that point, because 2 legendary figures came forward at a time that shocked both fans and insiders. Lexie Hull, a rising talent in the WNBA, and basketball legend Michael Jordan. Together, they unveiled an unexpected alliance that nobody anticipated. Nike was giving Caitlin Clark an incredible $52 million deal, not just for shoes, not just for branding, but for a whole empire based on her narrative, her sense of style, and her relentless ascent. In the sports world, what had previously been a whisper about her future turned into a thunderclap. Caitlin Clark's look at that precise moment, captured on video, told it all. Startled, appreciative, victorious. However, there is more to that arrangement than meets the eye. A tale of timing, legacy, and how Lexie Hull and Michael Jordan supported a revolution rather than simply a player. What happens now if Lexie Hull and Michael Jordan start a revolution rather than simply a business deal? To discover out, stay in touch. Women's sports were rocked by the bidding war. Caitlin Clark was more than just a basketball sensation by the time she arrived in Brooklyn for the 2024 WNBA draft. She was a sensation in marketing. Corporate behemoths with billion-dollar eyes were already watching every shot she made, every interview she did after the game, and every stride she took while wearing sneakers. Fans weren't the only ones thrilled by her ascension. The worldwide endorsement machine had been fully activated. The fight to sign Caitlin Clark was intense and involved boardrooms all across the world. Behind-the-scenes rumors of huge endorsement deals were circulating in early March 2024. In addition to signing a player, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, and Puma entered the market to sign the most powerful female basketball player. Every brand was aware of the risks. Caitlin Clark was more than simply a symbol of exceptional athleticism. In women's sports, she stood for a new age of prominence, popularity, and commercial dominance. Under Armour arrived quickly and forcefully. An enticing offer was exposed in reports that were leaked from its Baltimore headquarters. $16 million spread over 4 years in addition to the guarantee of a trademark shoe, which is uncommon for female athletes of any kind. That was sufficient to get media attention. Adidas then made a low-key, yet strategic offer. $6 million over a 4-year period. A prototype shoe that was previously created with Caitlin's game in mind was another item that caused a stir. Puma also dabbled on the concept. However, they pulled out of the contest when the stakes increased and the numbers surged. It was no longer business as usual. It was a war. Then, while everyone was holding their breath, Nike took action. It was more than a bargain. It was a thunderclap. 3 days after the Indiana Fever selected Caitlin first overall in the draft in April 2024, Nike made an offer that completely changed the game, an 8-year deal with a reported $28 million base. However, it didn't end there. Performance bonuses, brand royalties, and international activations would raise the deal's worth to an astounding $52 million, according to insiders close to the transaction. Nike didn't end there. To cement the deal, they brought in 2 strong troops. Michael Jordan, the great whose Jumpman brand revolutionized the basketball industry, and Lexie Hull, a rising star in the WNBA and astute supporter of fairness in the game. Together, they gave Clark a legacy rather than just a bargain. Caitlin Clark entered what she believed to be a casual Nike brand meeting at a private event in Los Angeles. Rather, Jordan himself greeted her, accompanied by Lexie Hull, who was carrying a sleek black box bearing her initials. Her first signature prototype is within. The instant she understood what was occurring was captured on camera. Her eyes widened, bewilderment giving way to tears as her hand sprang to her face. The torch was formally handed at that same time. What, then, caused Caitlin Clark to cry uncontrollably when legends handed her the torch? Keep an eye out. This is something you won't want to miss. The autograph that made all the difference. Caitlin Clark unveiled her first signature sneaker, which was bright, sleek, and branded with her name. For her, it was more than just a significant achievement. It was a moment that reverberated throughout decades of sports history. The world has not witnessed a connection this significant since 1984, when a youthful Michael Jordan inked a historic contract with Nike. However, performance wasn't the only factor this time. It was about promise, power, and women's sports future. Only a few days after her Brooklyn WNBA draft moment, the announcement was made. Not only was Nike's $52 million offer unprecedented, it included something even more uncommon. A distinctive shoe collection based solely on Caitlin Clark's personality and sense of style. As a result, she became just the 3rd player in WNBA history to be awarded this distinction. Even more noteworthy, though, was that she was the first in her professional career to earn it at this early stage. Fundamentally, it was a risky wager. Nike wasn't only acquiring a player. They were making an investment in a movement. One that started off with sold-out college stadiums and broken scoring records before developing into a fully fledged corporate powerhouse. With a few significant modifications, it was a contemporary take on the Jordan blueprint. Nike gave more than just a salary when they took a risk on Michael Jordan, an exciting rookie, back in 1984. Royalties, or a portion of each pair of Air Jordans sold, were part of Jordan's agreement. Everything was altered by that particular detail. It helped him develop both as a brand and as an athlete. MJ receives tens of millions of dollars a year from Air Jordan, which is now a multi-billion-dollar business. Not only did the first contract change Nike, but it also permanently changed sports marketing. In contrast, Caitlin Clark's arrangement is enormous in scope, but has a different structure. She receives her own shoe, but the deal does not, at least not yet, include royalties on sales, according to sources close to the discussions. This implies that even while Clark's name, image, and likeness drive the brand, Nike still controls the income. Not everyone was pleased with that particular aspect. The former Nike executive who assisted in signing Michael Jordan in the 1980s, Sonny Vaccaro, openly commended Caitlin for her quick ascent and referred to her as one of the most significant athletes of this generation. However, he also expressed his dissatisfaction without holding back. She ought to have had the whole Jordan treatment. In late April 2024, he informed reporters, "If anyone deserves ownership in their legacy, it's her." However, the visual impression was indisputable, even though the tiny print sparked controversy. At a Nike event in Los Angeles in late April, Caitlin appeared on stage with her trademark shoe next to WNBA player Lexie Hull and Michael Jordan, both of whom had internally lobbied for Clark's elevation. Crowds erupted, cameras flashed, and it became evident that this was more than a transaction. It was a proclamation. But how did Caitlin Clark's contract with Nike become a daring statement for women's sports? Discover the true implications of Caitlin Clark's Nike contract for women's sports by watching. In April 2024, Sonny Vaccaro, the guy who helped make Michael Jordan a worldwide celebrity, made a statement that went beyond sneaker culture. They set the entire sports sector on fire. Caitlin Clark was not being criticized by Vaccaro. He was giving her a lot of praise. At a roundtable with the media in Los Angeles, he stated that she ought to have received royalties or stock instead of simply the cash. She is changing society, not just selling shoes. It's also difficult to disagree with him. Caitlin Clark has already surpassed the majority of endorsement veterans at the age of 22. Social media was inundated with her highlights. Ratings were drawn to her name. Even before she participated in a WNBA game, her jersey sales broke records. Even though Nike's $52 million contract represented a significant change for female players, Vaccaro maintained that it was still not as groundbreaking as the model